You ever get that feeling when everyone outside Seattle is overlooking what's happening, but you know something special is starting to come together? That's exactly where things feel right now. There's one topic that has fans talking, and the more you look at it, the harder it is to ignore just how exciting this could be. Let's get into it, because there's a lot to unpack. Before we jump in, hit that like button if you're excited for what's ahead, and drop "Go Hawks" in the comments if you're riding with Seattle all the way this season. The discussion centers on one main question. Was Jaxon Smith-Njigba's breakout season a one-year peak, or is it the start of a long-term rise? The speaker argues strongly that it is the beginning of something much bigger. According to the analysis, JSN's recent season was not simply good. It was supported by underlying metrics that suggest sustainable success rather than a fluke. Three primary reasons are presented. First, yards per route run is highlighted as the strongest indicator. ESPN's Ben Solak is quoted as saying that Smith-Njigba's 3.85 yards per route run in 2025 ranks as the second-best mark of the past decade, trailing only Tyreek Hill's 2023 season. The argument is that this statistic is one of the NFL's most reliable predictive metrics because elite receivers who rank highly in it usually continue performing at an elite level. Rather than being inflated by volume alone, it reflects how productive a receiver is every time he runs a route. Second, the discussion focuses on game speed rather than straight-line speed. While players often post impressive 40-yard dash times before entering the NFL, the speaker argues that what matters is how fast they play on the field. Using NFL Next-Gen stats, the video claims JSN's average route running speed has increased every season, with a particularly large jump between 2024 and 2025. The explanation offered is that Smith-Njigba has become more comfortable within the offense, allowing him to maintain speed through cuts and breaks, instead of slowing down during route transitions. That makes him significantly more difficult for defensive backs to cover. Third, route running technique is presented as one of JSN's greatest strengths. The comparison is made to baseball pitchers who avoid tipping their pitches. According to the speaker, Smith-Njigba begins every route with nearly identical body language, pad level, acceleration, and movement, making it extremely difficult for defenders to predict where he is going. This disguises his intentions until the final break, giving him a consistent advantage against coverage. The speaker also points to JSN's steady year-to-year improvement, describing him as someone who continually works on every aspect of his game, including route running, catching ability, speed, and football intelligence. His progression is presented as evidence that his development has not plateaued. Another point raised is that, despite an outstanding statistical season, the speaker believes Smith-Njigba could have produced even more if Seattle had featured him more heavily in the offense. He argues that JSN's willingness to be an unselfish teammate may have limited his opportunities rather than his ability. The video contrasts Smith-Njigba's situation with previous Seattle receivers who experienced strong stretches before fading or failing to meet expectations, mentioning Darrell Jackson and Deion Branch as examples. However, the conclusion is that JSN appears fundamentally different because the advanced metrics supporting his performance are viewed as repeatable rather than accidental. The speaker also expresses frustration with what he views as a lack of national recognition for Seattle, arguing that media outlets spend more time praising teams like the San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams while overlooking how strong the Seahawks are. Looking ahead, the host believes ESPN correctly identified Smith-Njigba as a player whose breakout season is likely to continue instead of regress. He even raises the possibility that, if he remains healthy throughout his career, JSN could eventually challenge Steve Largent as the greatest wide receiver in Seahawks history. while acknowledging that Largent currently remains the franchise standard. The overall conclusion is optimistic. Rather than viewing Smith-Njigba's breakout as an outlier, the speaker believes his elite efficiency, increasing game speed, advanced route running, and continual development all point toward sustained elite production in the seasons ahead. Building on that conclusion, the speaker argues that the most convincing evidence isn't simply the raw production, but how Smith-Njigba achieved it. Elite receivers often separate themselves by creating consistent advantages before the ball even arrives, and the host believes JSN has reached that level. His ability to disguise routes, maintain speed through his breaks, and generate separation gives him a skill set that should remain effective regardless of defensive adjustments. Another important point is durability. When discussing ESPN's analysis of players who ranked highly in yards per route run over the past decade, the host notes that the few players who failed to repeat their success generally saw their production interrupted by injuries rather than a decline in talent. Because of that, he suggests the biggest obstacle to Smith-Njigba sustaining his level of play is simply staying healthy. The comparison to former Seahawks receivers reinforces the broader argument. Seattle has seen receivers enjoy productive stretches without becoming long-term stars, but the speaker believes JSN's case is different because his success is backed by advanced efficiency metrics instead of just traditional counting statistics. His improvement has also been gradual and consistent across multiple seasons rather than appearing suddenly without signs of progression. The route running discussion serves as the centerpiece of the analysis. The speaker explains that great defensive backs often anticipate routes by recognizing subtle clues in a receiver's body position or movements before the break. Using Richard Sherman's comments about reading receivers as an example, he argues that Smith-Njigba eliminates many of those clues. By keeping his movements consistent throughout every route in his route tree, he prevents defenders from gaining an early advantage, forcing them to react instead of anticipate. Ultimately, the host agrees completely with ESPN's assessment that Smith-Njigba's breakout is sustainable. Rather than expecting regression, he believes the receiver is positioned to continue ascending as one of the NFL's premier wideouts. In his view, the combination of elite efficiency, improved game speed, polished route running, and continuous development provides strong evidence that last season was not a one-year anomaly, but the foundation for an even brighter future. The discussion closes by encouraging Seahawks fans to recognize how significant Smith-Njigba has become for the franchise, and to share that perspective more broadly, arguing that he deserves far more national attention than he currently receives. The overall message is clear. If JSN remains healthy and continues on his current trajectory, there is every reason to believe his best football is still ahead of him. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest Seahawks news and analysis. Leave a like if you believe Jaxon Smith-Njigba is just getting started. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think he can become the greatest wide receiver in Seahawks history? Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to click the video that's on your screen right now. That's where you'll find more Seahawks coverage and all the latest updates first. See you in the next one. Go Hawks!